Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and this is a special day because this type of report only happens 4 times out of the entire year. Yes, I'm talking about Ripple's fourth quarter 2019 XRP market report, which dropped today. And I thought it would come. It always comes out roughly 3 weeks into whatever month is in question. And I'll tell you off the bat here, we're gonna break this whole thing down, but there were maybe a couple things that you could classify as surprises, and a lot of this is a continuation of what Ripple has been promising to do. But one of the most notable things from my perspective was an introduction of an announcement of a new corridor, XRP on-demand liquidity corridor. But before going any further here, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you are a fan of quarterly XRP markets reports created by Ripple, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel because I'll cover 4 of them per year. That's the deal. All right. So diving in here, let me jump right down into this a little bit because some of this is kind of fluff type stuff that I don't really need to get into, but I will say, as far as the XRP timeline, they go out of their way to cite, and maybe they did this in other reports and I just don't recall, but they cite that XRP was created in 2012, June of 2012, 100 billion units of XRP, and that Ripple wasn't created until September of 2012, months later here. And I don't recall them. Maybe don't recall, but they actually did this, but I just can't remember them ever going out of the way to mention that Ripple was created months later in a markets report here. And then they're going to talk about how the supply of XRP decreases over time through burning to pay transaction costs. So since the creation of the XRP ledger, the number of closed ledgers has exceeded 51 million as of December 31st, 2019, with over 150 known validators participating on the network. The diversity of these validator nodes further guarantees fairness and neutrality on the XRP ledger. No single entity can decide which transactions succeed or fail, and no single entity can alter a transaction after it is added to the ledger, which is one of my favorite things about the XRP ledger. There's a lot of things that I like about it, but the XRP ledger is deterministic, whereas the Bitcoin blockchain is probabilistic, and you can actually roll back transactions. Not my favorite. Anyway, piece continues. As a result, no transaction submitted to the XRP ledger has ever been discriminated against or censored, unlike some proof-of-work systems, Bitcoin, where small groups of miners control over 51% of the hashing power and could potentially reverse transactions. Now, as readers may recall, in the second quarter of 2019, Ripple shifted to a more conservative volume benchmark for XRP sales away from CoinMarketCap and to Crypto Compare Top Tier, CCTT, and significantly reduced XRP sales. Wait till you see the numbers here. In Q3 2019, Ripple further reduced XRP sales and paused programmatic sales. Ripple maintained this approach throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter. However, obtaining publicly available sources of trusted trading volume remains to be an ongoing challenge. There is still much progress to be made, and Ripple will continue to evaluate its benchmarks and work proactively with industry participants toward addressing the persistence of fake volumes in industry volume. Now, last quarter, total XRP sales were 13.08 million USD. Again, that's fourth quarter, $13.08 million US dollars versus $66.24 million the previous quarter. So down a lot, actually. And think about that, because the third quarter was already down a lot from the second quarter, and here we are, down even further. So then they write, in addition, Ripple continued the pause of programmatic sales, focusing solely on our over-the-counter OTC sales with a few strategic partners who are building XRP utility and liquidity in strategic regions, including EMEA and Asia. And I had mentioned that at least a couple times on the channel that Ripple was pretty public about the fact that the entities that they're still willing to offer XRP to are strategic partners. And so it's not that it's completely mind-blowing that the amount of sales are down from Q4 compared to Q3, but I guess I wasn't completely prepared for it to be down quite to that degree because they had already substantially slashed. But hey, I'm certainly not complaining. That's fine. Whatever is necessary to get out into the wild, that's what's going to get out there. Look, Ripple, very responsible stewards of the XRP ecosystem. And anyway, they write total sales, OTC only, given programmatic pause, ended the quarter at 8 basis points of CCTT. This is compared to total sales in the previous quarter, which was OTC plus programmatic, of 36 basis points of CCTT, representing a 78% drop quarter over quarter. 78% drop. So that's the part that one of the things in this report I was like, okay, it's not that it's mind-blowing that it happened, but a little surprised, right? Because that's a pretty notable drop right there. And you can see here the numbers on the screen in case you just want to take a look. I've got it right there for you. We'll get down a little bit further here now. Note, in Q4, CCTT changed the methodology it uses to determine which exchanges it lists in the top tier, which is reflected in the numbers above. Ripple continues to evaluate its benchmarks given challenges such as fake volumes that continue to persist in the industry. And I think not enough individuals, not even businesses. I mean, individuals too fine, but entities operating, running businesses in the world of blockchain and crypto, not enough are really insisting on accurate volume data. And to me, that's disappointing. But it's awesome to see that Ripple's leading the charge in that regard. Now, reported volume. CCTT's reported daily volume for XRP decreased in the fourth quarter from Q3 2019. The average daily volume was reported at $187.34 million in Q4 versus $198.1 million in Q3, and below the second quarter's reported 429.5, or an average million average daily volume there. Volatility, though, take a look at this. Based on CCTT's closing price of XRP, XRP's volatility of daily returns over fourth quarter was 3.1%, a drop in volatility from the third quarter's 3.6%. XRP's volatility over the quarter was similar to that of Bitcoin, which was at 3%, and that of Ethereum, 3.1%, which is interesting. So I guess for a lot of the quarter, there wasn't a whole lot of insane price action. I mean, there was that massive run-up at some point in October when Bitcoin had, and I don't know, I'm going from memory, but I think it was like its third biggest daily jump in terms of price ever. So there was a little bit of that, but it seems like a lot of the quarter, it wasn't, there wasn't a lot going on in terms of price action. Then they go down here, escrow. In Q4 2019, 3 billion XRP were again released out of escrow, 1 billion each month. Of note, in December of this quarter, Ripple returned a full 1 billion back to escrow for the first time ever. In total, across the quarter, 2.7 billion XRP were returned and subsequently put into new escrow contracts. Note, all figures are reported based on transactions executed during the quarter. Now, you know what's interesting, and I had this pulled up. I wanted to cite this too. Here's the page I wanted. From Daily Hodl, this is January 3rd of this year. Massive transfers indicate Ripple sold 100 million XRP in December, and depending on what the price was at the moment, it would have been sold. In theory, it would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 to $25 million worth of XRP sold. And so at the time I said, well, I mean, in terms of the quantity sold, it could be possible, but I said we really need to wait for the fourth quarter report to come out. Because just the fact that there is the movement cited within this piece regarding XRP, I said that doesn't necessarily indicate that there was a sale at play there. And I also cited on the flip side, even though 1 billion XRP went back into escrow, I also said that it didn't necessarily indicate that there weren't any sales, as Ripple does have XRP that's not in escrow. So where's it coming from? That's why I said just wait for the fourth quarter report. Now we do have a couple answers there, but you can see 100 million XRP clearly not sold, there in the month of December. So that, as I said, just wait. Don't worry about it. I don't suppose that's the case. All right, down a little further now. They get on history of escrow. I think we can go over that. Okay, check out this. On-demand liquidity. Oh, yeah. So this is one of my favorite. Do you guys got your Orville Redenbacher ready? Got some Orville Redenbacher popcorn popped in the microwave? No, you can go ahead and pause. Go ahead and pop it. You got to have yourself a little treat while I go further into the video here. In November 2019, Ripple announced that over 24 companies have become customers of on-demand liquidity, including MoneyGram, Golance, Vi Americas, FlashFX, and Interbank Peru. In addition to the USD MXN and USD PHP on-demand liquidity corridors, and so that would be the US to Mexico corridor and US to Philippines corridor, the company went into production with on-demand liquidity payments originating from Australia into USD and Philippine peso. And check out this now, a new production on-demand liquidity corridor from the euro to the United States dollar. How about that? Then they write, plans for additional corridors across APAC, EMEA, and Latin America are in progress for 2020. So we're going to learn a lot more. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff to report on in 2020. So this new corridor for utilizing the euro to USD, I had to pull up the list of exchanges here. And so I did that on XRParcade.com, which is a fantastic website. Here are the 6 officially announced on-demand liquidity partners. And so you've got Bitstamp, Bittrex, Bitso, Coins.ph, BTC Markets, and BitCub. And so I was thinking, wait a minute, so Euro to USD, what exchange could that be? Because this is a new corridor that they're talking about. It's like, so who's the liquidity provider? There has to be a cryptocurrency exchange here is what I started thinking. So well, it's not BitCub. This is the most recent one we learned about. That's a Thailand-based cryptocurrency exchange. So definitely not them, not dealing with the euro there, to United States dollars. And then there's BTC Markets, that's the Australian one. Coins.ph, that's in the Philippines. Bitso is in Mexico. Bittrex is in the United States. And so that left me with Bitstamp, and I thought, oh, okay, where the hell's Bitstamp headquartered? Because I honestly could not remember. And so I just Googled it, and sure enough, Bitstamp is in London. So there you go. Euro to United States dollars. So that's the new corridor from Bitstamp. Understand also that as it pertains to liquidity providers, cryptocurrency exchanges are the liquidity providers. They're going to have all sorts of different corridors that they'll be participating in as the whole ecosystem is built out. So that's one liquidity pool that's going to connect to all sorts of other liquidity hubs the world over right there. And so the most recent active corridor that they're citing here in this report is from clearly it would be from Bitstamp to Bittrex, because those are the only two announced. Unless they have some secret exchanges out there, it's from Bitstamp to Bittrex in the United States there. So interesting, but there is going to be a whole lot more out there. Like I said, BitCub we just found out about that within the last several days or so, and I made a video about that. And it's exciting to see. They're telling us here. They're only teasing us a little bit, which I'm okay with. They're saying, okay, there's going to be more of these liquidity pools as part of Ripple not utilizing on-demand liquidity. They're just not telling us which partners those are, cryptocurrency exchange partners those are going to be just yet. All right, now check out this. In 2019, dollar value transacted through on-demand liquidity increased more than 100 times between Q1 and Q4, and specifically from Q3 to Q4 by 650%. Oh, mama. The number of on-demand liquidity transactions also increased by 390% from Q3 to Q4, showcasing high customer demand for leveraging digital assets, specifically XRP, in cross-border transactions. And so, there's definitely high customer demand. It's just, in order for these transactions to be possible, there have to be people that are selling. There has to be the liquidity there. There has to be the buying and selling, buying and sell order. Well, in this case, sell orders, really. In order for these transactions to occur automatically, because, there's an efficient path-seeking algorithm that is on-demand liquidity. And if there aren't enough people selling on exchanges that are on-demand liquidity enabled, you can't scale. And so that's why this is all happening at a certain pace. But Ripple is absolutely working to build out this ecosystem. So I would say those percentage increases are rather notable and rather impressive. But man, I wish if more people were aware and involved in the world of crypto, you could facilitate many more transactions, even at the current price level of XRP. Because as far as how many transactions you can facilitate, it's purely based on the blend of available price of XRP. It's based on the price of XRP and liquidity. It's those are the two factors there. Anyway, in addition, Ripple made an investment in Bitso, the largest exchange in Mexico, to support RippleNet's USMXN corridor by providing critical liquidity for payments. Last year, Ripple launched on-demand liquidity capabilities with MoneyGram into Mexico, with Bitso as the key exchange partner. MoneyGram has publicly reported that they have moved more than 10% of its transaction volume between the United States and Mexico through ODL. And I still don't know why this number is being cited even from Ripple, because it was Alex Holmes that cited in an interview, unless he actually misspoke, but and it may have been with Julia Chatterley. I'd have to go back and look, but the CNN reporter. But the number that he said for sure was 15%, not 10% of transaction volume. So I don't know. I don't know why that's still in the report there. But there we are. Other than that, they go on to talk about Spring. A lot of this, I don't want to dig too much in. I want to get to the greatest high-level part. Otherwise, this video could go on for if I were going to talk thoroughly about everything in here, you'd have to plant yourself down for an hour. So 45 minutes to an hour probably. So I don't want to do that, but I did want to cover the most high-level stuff, which I've done to this point. Other than that, they were talking about here, Spring, the open platform for money, continued to make it easier for developers to build on the XRP ledger and leverage interledger protocol, ILP, to realize the Internet of Value through tools, services, and programs. Last quarter, Ripple acquired Strata Labs to join Spring and focus on building ILP infrastructure, making the ILP network more accessible to developers. And you can see one of the bullet points down here under notable developments. Spring's investment into Towo Labs, if that's how it's said, which develops open source software for full support of XRP on-demand hardware wallets. So there you go, XRP included there. But so it's interesting that ILP was cited here in the XRP markets report. Why? Well, let's just say this. ILP benefits XRP, or at least that's the vision that Ripple has for it. So in my mind, all good stuff there. But I should probably stop right there. They do go into talk about, maybe I could talk about some more of these concepts and cover it a little bit more in another video, but I feel like I better stop here or else it's just going to get too long for people. But they go into talk about the derivatives market, borrowing and lending, pertaining to XRP, regulatory activity, and industry players, which doesn't directly have anything to do with what's happening with the XRP ecosystem. So I think I can kind of cut it out for the sake of time here. But thank you very much for stopping by. Very interesting stuff here. See you back here next quarter. Well, for this type of report anyway. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!